Welcome everyone to the evening question and answer session with Sherab Pasang Rinpoche and Tashi Tsering Lama, who have kindly agreed to answer our questions. So this is a really precious opportunity to ask your Dharma questions and get clarification. So we'll start by people raising their hands, and then Ani Dagme has kindly agreed to pass around the microphone. And then we have our translator, Ina, online, who will be translating remotely. So be sure to speak into the microphone so she can hear you. And that's why we're passing around the microphone, so Ina can hear the question. Okay. Who wants to begin? A burning question. Okay, we got a hand up over here. I'll start.
During this long life retreat, we've been really considering devotion for His Eminence Garchen Rinpoche. Can you please share a personal story of devotion that might inspire us?
That might inspire us, was his last words.
Oh, lasso. Tini pong ki tivala, tini tanda Rinpoche ki tensho kapla, tini nganso tan Garchen Rinpoche heba mogwe kola nganso samla mambo tama yins, tini ti kola tini Garchen Rinpoche la mogwe heba ki kola di lokyo chik dong chik na sungro nang. Ma rabo di lokyo rabo chik sungro nang Rinpoche, chirik Rinpoche dang drava yu pa, Rinpoche la teba kara Rinpoche teba yu pa ki dong chik, kyang kia ki chung.
Garchen Rinpoche ta ngan pacher lo chou den sani ngo shiyo lo chou den sani tene kong yina ta ngune chane ka sanjo samba tsini tsanyo re tindo sanjo samba zoje te karel zoyo zena tene yindon ka chito tene lo tang so tene karwa mangpo par tene ruwa mangpo la pinta to luke hintop dimba tela tene sanjo sanzo yora tenra zoyo re tawde Garchen Rinpoche ina ta jetang munchu ta ngaso gagondo ka tsina la chi zokka mare tsina zang zengwa zoyen yogare tene ninkan de ina tene ta yin dong pan dong je zendra chongban cho je zendra tenre wi ko tu ta ba jun de tenre bi ton da de so ke ning to ta ne so yong je te so cha san jo sam ba ta jun sin ri te jin yo de yin da ta dang so sja le sun de fa jing Garchen Rinpoche gong lo tuk ja sri na do yin de sja le sun ka ke gong yo ma re tene ta ring ne ram da man ram da ta che zo ko yong la chi ngo mi pa la tene ta rong yin top go ni tene yin dong zen ta te tene san jo sam ba ke re se tene ta nyam ning go ni na ya ta to pe da jo to ji yin chon do sen ji mang bo ke ga rom bo chin thong wa san ji men chi ma tong da de yin de sol de ba ya chan na tene Garchen Rinpoche de ba ya le ke jun sen ma rang ke cho sa tene zhi ba ta no re se.
Okay. So Rinpoche is saying that I've known Garchen Rinpoche since I was 6 years old. And Garchen Rinpoche is truly a bodhisattva, a really authentic, a true bodhisattva. So what actually is a bodhisattva? It's someone with the courage to benefit countless beings over many aeons, offering even their body and life force for the sake of others. That's the kind of courage a Bodhisattva has. And Garchen Rinpoche is like that. And at Gar Monastery, our home monastery, back when we stayed at Gar Monastery, Garchen Rinpoche would never sleep at night. He would always sit upright in meditation throughout the night. And during the day, he would recite his prayers or perform pujas and so on. He would remain in that state continuously, in a continuous state of practice. So that kind of unwavering courage comes from being a bodhisattva, in my view. And now that he's come to the West, when he came to the West, he was already over 6 years old. He came here without knowing English, surrounded by all kinds of people that he was not familiar with, like a mentality he was not familiar with, many people, and education and knowledge he didn't really have of this place, and an unfamiliar environment. And still, he continued his path with the same courage to benefit sentient beings. So his practice, his realization is so profound that many people just seeing him brings people to tears. So we feel this devotion toward him, and that devotion for him is not something really for him in a sense, but it's really actually for us a way to accumulate merit and to purify obscurations. Alaso?
대바 요저지 때 뭘 그바에 뭘 째아에 대 대스탕을 요 말했어. 아 대바 용아서 그 쨌다 다 도갑서야 대바 요 그랬다. 조치한 한냠슬림be 가서 되니 라마라 산진 운동전 대바 요저지 때 한냠슬림be 가서 해요랬어. 대신 이제 자와가리 저 현데 주백시나 산제니 따라 말이야. 그 주백시나부터 쇼구나. 되니 nak 잡람 진 쇼고요레스. 대인도 디준시 건 대바 요리마 란세 그바에 저당 야보리 산 대ങ്ങൾ 말. 콩나 다 상제 리바타고나. 되니 라말 대바 민 딘종타도 요 말이스. 버나 다 쳐는 로고 저라 다 람간도 고려. 디 람가데 디 라만 토대요. 또 대바 요직게 라마라 단 그바비 대바 요고를 산제리 정도 된래건 하고 그래마도 저당 대바 야서 된래건 하고 말이 네 전부 토대여서 가르시 당나 도르제 대바 라바르도 조바 침보 사자 침보 된래 냠슬링건 된 라마 산제 운동 대바 요고제 자와들 토요래서
So, and then generally about devotion. So what is devotion? So if we may think that devotion is to respect someone or even love someone, but that's not actually what we call devotion. It's much more than that. So it's not simply that feeling this feeling of love and respect that we call devotion. So first of all, in the sutras also speak of devotion, but devotion is especially emphasized in the tantras, where the Lama is seen as the actual Buddha. And why is that? It's because the blessings of the lineage from the Buddha all the way to the present, to the Guru, are passed down to us through the root Guru. That is how we receive those lineage blessings. So devotion is really essential. So it's not just about thinking he's so wonderful, he's excellent, or admiring someone, but we want to reach enlightenment. And if we want to reach enlightenment, there is no other way than devotion to the Guru. The Guru is the way to enlightenment. And so the Guru, therefore, is seen as the actual Buddha. So this is what we need to understand. It's not just some ordinary devotion as in admiration. That's a real crucial point, especially in Mahamudra and Dzogchen and the Tantras, the Tantric teachings. So devotion, so that's the main the root kind of meaning, the key point of devotion is really that the guru is actually the Buddha. That's so.
Thank you.
Somebody else want to ask something? Yes.
Thank you so much. My question is if it's possible for you to explain the history. It's a twofold question. One is to explain the history of Ushnisha Vijaya, and the other, of course, she has a bow and arrow, and she has Buddha Amitabha, and she has mudras. So as we're doing this practice, it would probably help us a little if we knew what the history of this deity was and what the symbolism of what she's holding and her mudras are. Thank you.
Tene tanda ti Namgyalma ki Garchen Triptrul Rinpoche ni dok tela chite tambo Namgyalma chitang ki logyu de tsung ronang tene nipa tim tene Namgyalma yang bena changchen damenda yori bena shu yori tene ta yori la sobade sangchen mambo yori tene ti tak chama chundak de kare chungi yoris tenso chama changchen chama.
다 남자만 저주대 테니 산제케 돈난 송도 산제케 돈나나 테니 사이버 지다 자케나난도 부케난 로지티 파처 지바네도 사마데 된 사버 rabdin 파처 rabdin 사요 사버지 테니 샤마 dunne 테니 쳔푼도레스 테니 샤마 dunne 쳔푼도네 테니 냐와 홍도레즈 테니 텐다코 나와난리나 다 야보마팅이면도 또 텐다 자자그레스 테니 테네 소르테 코티니 코 센트라모동데 테니 라왕부 자즈이나 카리나 플라직 테니 초 텐데 도고르 마레 테니 따라 산지팅 카운트 산제 용요레 산제를 휴진에 테니 타비오레즈네 테니 코로 탑동 테니 코 산진된 송데네 테니 다 tsering 답겠다 테니 테니 디 슈인데 테니 남자마테 산직송 쪽돌 송들이죠 테니 시엔도 동데 단도르든데 텐다리 텐데송들인도 테니 각 삼신 레기나 카리 다른 답지 위저리 마송 더데 공다시게
So Namgyalma, so is a teaching that came directly from the Buddha. So Namgyalma therefore is found in the sutras, and so the story, just to tell it in brief, and just really just a kind of an outline, not very detailed, but so the story. I get that story from the Chinese, and it's probably the same in Chinese and Tibetan, but so. There was in the past, there was a god, and that god's name was Rabden, and he heard a sound, a prophecy that told him that he would die in 7 days, and after that, fall into the hell realms. When he heard that voice, it deeply upset him. And he went to the greater gods. It was probably Indra, and he told him about what is going to happen, that what he heard, and then that God told him, "Don't stay here. Go to the human world. There is a Buddha there, and the Buddha Shakyamuni. If you go there, meet him. He can liberate you." So then that God, Rabden, he went to the human world to see the Buddha, asking for a way to extend his life. And then the Buddha taught the practice of Namgyalma, and it emerged from the crown of his head. So that's the Ushnisha. It came from his Ushnisha, the Namgyalma teaching. So this is how it appears in the sutras. And then regarding the symbolic meaning, the meaning of those symbols, I haven't studied each of them in detail, so I can't really comment on that. I'm sorry. Pastor?
Somebody else? Yeah.
According to Garchen Rinpoche, he said the Buddha nature is no thought, the empty mind. The mind is empty. In that case, how can the Bodhicitta arise? And the second question is, when a meditation practitioner, they practice, are they be able to see the Buddha nature? And when they see the Buddha nature, what is it? Thank you.
Tala driva ni tok thambo ti Garchen Rinpoche is sungna teni shin shek peningbo teni semgi ngoris teni semgi ngo ti tongba ris teni semgi ngo ti tongba yina teni tongba ni le changchup sen khandes ge thok ris teni nipa tela tengan so kom kya pe kapla teni nganso ta 대신 책방님고 통토끼리스 그나 성고독 되니 통드 되니 가래 통고독 가래리스 대신 책방님고
대빈 제 라자르지가 타타 지스데
알았어. 담보 드바 당보디 같이 럼버체 기송나 대신 책방님고 디 샘긴 오버리 되니 샘긴 오버 디 똥바니레 똥바니이나 똥바이나 되니 똥바니레 되니 장초생 칸데스 게토 그래 당보데레
테라 제탄 대빈식은 뭐때 동반이 레스 동반이 저지 테라 뭐 사로 차다 뭐 동부 차다 라민 사로 그 차. 저 니세죠. 뭐 동부 차니까 동반이 가는 산적 그 셈절에 요미절 쟁가 참아 잘될 레스 이나야 라민 동부 차라 이 산적 셈 저지 테라지 그 돈이 콜라 ngô tông mà ta ram yin sarwa ni zong de xie ge re ram yin sarwa ngala de ne ta nge so ge chu ge long ge zhe ge ngô ni ge la so wa tam ji ding yong de xie le re san je ge chu man zhe be chu job jie zhen de chu mang bo le de so chang mang ram yin sarwa chan de xie yo re ngô tông wa ta ram yin sarwa ni zu xie se ge re se
So generally, we say that Buddha nature is empty, and that's the nature of the mind. But then the essence of the mind is empty, but its nature is clear, its clarity. And that is the aspect of bodhicitta, this arising of bodhicitta. And generally, the empty aspect is that this mind is without existence or non-existence. It is without arising, abiding, or cessation. It is clear, but it lacks any inherent existence, so it is empty. And when this empty nature manifests, its clarity manifests as the different kayas. There's Sambhoga kaya, Dharma kaya, there's Vabhavika kaya, and so on. And also, generally there are like 18 different aspects to it, but in brief, the essence of mind is both empty and clear. So.
Teni nipa chen teo.
Teni tiba nipa tela tiri teni kom kyape kaplam teni deshin shekpe nimbo tinga so thong tukki dos do teni thong tukki do na teni kesi thong nam teni kare thong gyore kare thong do deshin shekpe nimbo thong du
Ori. Ta chetan ngaso ka toni zo jite. Chetan ndo kam xie je che yore. Nga kan xie gndo. Don kam xie de zhuba tamchen de zhawa zo ne. Ko tamchen tong ma tong zo kan yo ma re tamchen zha yo le zo. Ga ba jiang jiang ri ma to. Tong je zo le zo xie je ma re. Teni nga ka so ta toni to zo xie ndo. Te tong je zo che yo ma re te yin na yang ta lama ka tukje tan loma ke chosa driba ta bu lajil tin den tini sam ke ngo te tini shiga yo res ina etel tong le ri zo xie je ma res gari zo chen na sam jumi shira par sin zo ni shen do sanje ka na jumi jo jumi sam jumi ma chi ma ga na ku ngo ni so so na re ji yo ba tu son ja yin na san san lo se te xie yo re je tini sanje ka ta ma thong pa ne tam pa ne thong a tam cho zo thong je zo kan yo ma res 이나야 다 초사 드바장 람신 투제신라 땡는 된 남신 하고지 요랬다 소소르다 나소가 다 소소니 지면 내가 가 노감 신 이제 다른 하고 더 말이 사당복값 승아에 소 하고 무슨 통거래 되는 나값서 적친이나 사친의 셰프값서 다다니 소소를 통도 다존에 대다 가 그런 게 최초지 이나야 될 통저 저존에 동절 말이지 다 초사 드바 닥발 딘덴 드니 하고 그래서 다 던전 막 리마도 지단 하고 말했을 때 동은저지 무보지 요 말했어 만통하는 통하다면 초절 그래서 너 가서
So generally, emptiness is explained in both the sutras and the tantras, and each has their own way of explaining emptiness. And in the sutras, it is explained, it is presented through a complete negation by saying like nothing truly exists and so on. There's no inherent existence. In the tantras, it is explained that although things appear, they are empty, but there is nothing solid or real to hold on to. But then through the guru's compassionate blessings and the disciples' merit and purification of obscurations, through that, the nature of mind can be understood. But it's not like seeing a thing. So it is said in the Heart Sutra, in the sutras, that there is self, there's this pervasive self-awareness, but and the ultimate nature, the Buddha nature, is the domain of this self-awareness, this primordial awareness. And it is said that, in fact, not seeing is the supreme seeing. So the sutras say that not seeing is the supreme seeing. So ultimately, nothing is actually seen, but it's something that through practice one day you can understand. It can become a direct experience. But then from the sutra perspective, even when one has a direct experience, it's not yet full realization. One may have reached the first bhumi. On the first bhumi, one for the first time directly sees the nature of the mind. But then in the sutras, in the tantras, in Mahamudra and in Dzogchen and so on, it progresses further. And one sees not just this empty nature, but that all appearance this emptiness is clearly appearing. And so, however, without purifying obscurations and accumulating merit, it can't be seen. But so again, in general, there's nothing to be seen. There's no thing to be seen at all. As we said, this not seeing is the highest seeing. So.
I have a question to Tashi Tsering Lama. As you are in Gar Monastery and you experience the time that Garchen Rinpoche was there, and then you experience the time when he left, and we are so fortunate in the West that he came. Otherwise, we didn't have the chance to meet him. And I feel like for all of us, it will be very beneficial to hear how you, all the monks in the monastery, in the nunnery, how you continue and how you experience the time without Rinpoche and you missing him, but then not separated from him. So if you can share with us your experience and how you see the monastery after Garchen Rinpoche left, and how is your practice there? How are you holding all the Drupchen and all the practices that Garchen Rinpoche established in the monastery? Thank you.
Tini Tashi Tsering amala tini ti nguma Garchen Rinpoche kar gombal shupe kapla titi tere yang yore titi Rinpoche nyamdu yosari tini ti kapla tini Rinpoche gombala shupe kapla tini nima cheda tini Rinpoche ni sigyala pep song tida Rinpoche pep gitos tini kyan ti nyamnyong yore ti tengi yosari pep tu tini nguna senata Rinpoche tanda Sigar perioding and so Gaba Sambores and so Sonam Chambores, Yinayang, Karamsi and Pula Hlade Yori, and Deni Deve, Deni Karangin Yamyon Golaji Sonronang, that Karang and Java Anishan button so Rinpoche Mebegapla, Rinpoche Pep Sartum, Deni Kandera Vodok, Karan Sutsamla Kandecha song, Deni Yamyon Kanded Yong song, Deni Rinpoche Jengit to Rinpoche Mena Jengit of Tini Jenlook Kandet Jengit dog, Tini di Jenayang, Tini Rinpoche and Kamadava Katuna Kingi Usari, Tini di Gabla, Tini Jembe Gabla, Tini Moon Rinpoche Gombanang Shin Yamlen Chegi Bena Drupchen Soya La Sopa, that Rinpoche in Yamlen Sama, Moon to the Chetupa, and then that would cheat to Grace, Rinpoche Mebe Gabla, Titan Can Sova Kanada Gig those Rinpoche peptide. So.
Ola zola da da chwa de la nga ke pa khap tho ri lin ri gyap tho wen nga chi tan ki ja de chire ka gong ne shi ra xie xi ga ma ri de nga an ra xie nyong a mi de 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 ni da ra song ju den da yin ga chin bo che da sa ja le phep de ni sa ja le phep char de lo dang tom ba la sa la phep de ni da za ni da ngi ma ni dong ju yo lo mo ten je pa phep to we Teni chonan zogon teni kongama ke bu yor bu gargung kharamari ta chena bu yor ke machama teni tazani ngake ke rangung teni kaju bu gumpa chama teni tinani lakpar to ndgong kaju je gumpa chama teka pe Rinpoche pa phebdi chik Rinpoche ngoma char phebun jo misale pheb song teni char phebun ne chonan de ji chama de da ri song la gawa de chenbo ta gawa de le che go go na che teni la ja yo on jo mili de ge ri da la teni ta taran de Rinpoche mo yo bu la de li ka ta cha sar chama ka ta ngegen da in lama trawa nga so bu yo ni ma sha sa da na sa chama la ta telan ro go Dewe zardu ta mara na cha ka ke rina jab jing gar chin bo che zo so ran de me ni chi ma tong tani te gen de sigan do tani lakbar de ma gange tar bo che ki jim da ta pha chur chu den wan den che sa tar bo che ka chu ka thi song sa te gen nyam ni si ma te tani da cha sa la tho de cha ma ke me ni chi ma nga tani trek se ka ta jab jing gar chin bo che zo sa ja cha Many chimatong to the challenge the end of to. Then it dog don't have Zenata, Pit to Lama, Zenita in the Kahili Yog the Ocean, Zenita in the Yog dena, 다 고케라마 하체 가치는 뭐지 용도도 내게다이나 로충충리 되니 로충충 인자들 rinpoche ke kati nando de jektel kati ke dumba meni cher lobson de jando da tine me tv khome shi da dang da in da chama den da chama ke chozo go da rewa che gya da nga da in thingma da teli thingma yelan ro thopso nga thingma dambo ro de yang ngaram pe dambo gan teri tani eni rinpoche ji charte we charte ni phayula la dili tegela tani sha cha nyeng je tege ge zolo tin tani khoge ge marere ge da rinpoche la nga hyando da te du rinpoche la thoni ma bu khoro zo tani chama ge te zong de pe sim pambo jobo tani pe da ngake ge phama mi li da ro zolo la da ro phama mi li tana mala tana ma choje la de len da ngake gompa tamje inanda de tamje inanda tege pe chorwa chimbondo teni tara sone drupchin sojo da dowan sojo cheta rinpoche yongdo du sojo da hongla jajo tege char dog mada den lama ma yog char deni teni ko me pama hya chali ta rog a ro wen cheksa jajo da telen rama se teni tempo yinja hongjo mada teni tege da chorwa tege da ri dala
Awesome. So first of all, I don't really have much experience, speaking about things like that. So maybe I'm not able to give a very direct answer to that. But just to say a few words about your question. So when Garchen Rinpoche left Tibet and came to the West, he left for good and then didn't come back for many years. In 2014, he did return to Tibet once, and so the way I'm feeling about it is that when he comes, it is really an incredible experience. So, and that's not just the Forgar Monastery; it's for many Tibetan people, especially our monastery, but also the other Kagyu monasteries, in particular the Jigong monasteries. When he came back, it felt like almost like a miracle to everyone. Many believed he wouldn't return. So it was just really an indescribable experience for so many people, for all the Tibetans there. And now, of course, Rinpoche isn't there. And the people there, the monks and the lamas and all the people there, we are in a way left behind in Tibet. And so normally when people get sick or when they're dying, they ask us, the monks, the lamas, to go there and pray for them. So we go there and support them. And often people, they cry and they pray for Rinpoche, they cry for Rinpoche, especially the elders and longer friends of Rinpoche and patrons, those who have received teachings and empowerments from Rinpoche. So when those practitioners pass away, they cry deeply for Rinpoche, and they actually pass away joining in prayer, their hands joined in prayer, praying to Rinpoche, crying for Rinpoche. That's how they pass away. So the suffering that the people experience there from not having him is real. It's real, a real suffering for them. But in the way also the Lama is still, of course, with us. But on the other hand, he's not really there with us. So in some sense, we have become a bit like orphans. When Rinpoche left Tibet, I was quite young. And during that time, he taught us, and I saw his teachings as advice. And I didn't really know at that time how to ask questions and so on. And now I see the blessings he left behind. So I've had the fortune to come here 4 times to meet him. And when I came for the first time, I was so happy to meet Rinpoche. I was just overjoyed. But then also I felt that as all these people left behind at home, and I did feel the weight of those, the sadness of those that are still left behind and are crying for Rinpoche. Because when people always tell us, when I die, I want Garchen Rinpoche to pray for me. And it's really, they're heartbroken that they can not see him again before they die. And so it is almost in a way that many of us are like a child without a parent, kind of left behind without a parent. Regarding doing our practice and the pujas or the group chants and so on that Rinpoche established in Tibet, we do our best to continue them on. We have continued them all, but it's still, of course, not quite the same as when Rinpoche is there. But we just try our best, and that is what we can do. That's all.
Hola, tenida Garchen Rinpoche con nga anyo chung chung da lo chuk som sa che na de sa tu teni Garchen Rinpoche pa theng tang bon ji je len de ge ri to wi de sa de ni da kon re ge lab za nang jo pa ma ge lab za ge gin je lab za da ji ma lama ge lab za de ge we che la da nga dai na pe sha cha hyo nyong nga chu nyam li hi ta nyong de teni Rinpoche ta re tin cha de teni zega sacha kana una chikpa rida da lama rasam sanje som jelen da khore ke tu tak par ngala ngarang ni sem nyam de lopo de nyam de mina dra song lo de nga dai na ten de chuni ri ma da la teni ten dai na na ma na pe yi jo cham de do gyo du ka she de ni de la ni ma re la ten some guess my shell and dog Torula didn't end up Naltaro. Ne Mulanda gave it up ye, Rinpoche Dasal and Rochia Zazi, that Chera Jimda Tamjing or she gave it to she that. That penny manso, Ludeli Tamjik Bori, Na Pandro, the Rinpoche Chesong, the Nala Chesong, good on. Nghe có được riêng làm được pa cha riêng làm được cái gì nó ở chỗ trở ra Rinpoche cái ta Lama không thấu được chỗ xin nhỉ nhắm đâu xong đâu rồi riêng tham chiến rồi cái thấu đâu là thế thì thế rồi đi chơi che nga ma re sam ma sab tu ni sama ge che ngal che cha ko Rinpoche ta sha pho ma se le thugli che ri jo li ri ji li che ri jo li ri teni sa ja tam je le pam jo le chak jin le ko na ba Tsering ji na ze da nga ke pa ze ba ma da chak jin che sa che go teni de zo ne che nga che chi so re che wa ho shu pa ti mi de jan de ge chan jang ri do la teni nga la Jawa to the pay yak project is on 2 J. The Nila don't read the Coserent and it and watch here to so much.
So when I first met Rinpoche, I was about 13 years old, and since then I have received much advice, many teachings from him. I've received much advice from him, from my parents, and I've always tried to take it all to heart and put it into practice and really experience it. And of course, we hear from Rinpoche that wherever we go, it's all the same. Rinpoche always tells us it's the mind, the guru, your own mind, and the Buddha are one. Rinpoche always tells us our minds are together. It's just the bodies that are apart, but it's not the body that counts. It's the mind. The mind needs to be together, and the mind is always together. However, even though I know this to be true, I have not fully realized this. And therefore, each and every day, back there, I feel tremendous sadness, and I cry and I miss Rinpoche each and every day. Every day I cry for him. I think of him constantly, and although I know our minds are together, I still haven't fully realized that. So I always pray that may I go to see him again. And when I see him again, I then have to think about those friends and students that all left behind. And when I return to Tibet, then everyone asks me, did he say anything about me? Did he mention me? Does he remember me? And so on. And sometimes I lie and I say, yes, he mentioned you to make them happy. He says, don't worry, our minds are together. Everyone asks us, it's not just one person or two, everyone is crying for him. And they ask, will we ever meet him again? Why can't he come? He's in the West. They have so many abilities. They have means to make things happen in the West. They have resources. So why can't they not bring him here? What can we do to bring him here? Can we see him one more time? So they cry, and sometimes they even they cry so much that they even lose consciousness. They faint, and it's always like that when I return to Tibet. And whenever I tell them anything from him, that he remembered them or that he told them this or that, then they feel so happy. That's why I tell them that, and they thank me for asking on their behalf. So this is all that I can say.
La yinda ta tawa chuji tawa the Sherab Pasang Rinpoche la jina ba tawan zero kong maza pecha zainyong yung tiyo jo gong lo chung jo the tara to ri da ngal tawa ya bo ji tisong te thukje che nying da ba ni thukje che kong na ba la to hiro la.
And for any of the other questions that are about Dharma, please direct them to Pasang Rinpoche, because he has studied the scriptures really deeply. He has great qualities, great learning. He's also still very young. But thank you really from the bottom of my heart. That was really a wonderful question.
I just want to thank you so much, Lama, for opening your heart and sharing in such a profound way that has, I feel like, affected my heart. So thank you so much for that. And then my question is really around asking for you to share a story about Rinpoche that has most inspired your practice and deepened your devotion. Thank you.
Oh, the Cherry to the chair, the Senam Meba, so Una Keranging, and so Ning Nanak Haratok Natsula, Song, the Narangis and Be Pen song at Katinchi, the Morangi Trivala, the near Rinpoche Gikola, when Sarang Yamlin. Kulma chea ki drumchik pena nyamlen kulma chea tang theba yagyen toya tini nyamlen yagyen toya kulma yadaba ti kula tamgyuchik sungronang butchedang java.
Oh, la sola. Then Rinpoche ke tata kachu kati song jo den pecha jana ta tu jun to kone ke song do de ngarang ko ngini ta go ngarang ta tenga shule nang ter chik chung chung tu kone ke lopso ke gegin ta lopso nje teni te wi tu ni ngarang kone la le dam honglam kani na kone ke song ni te la keja karamugo karasongona tan drada te rida samne rino anyo tuni taurindo du tani nima teni zonde ta talma to kordo losum cho yebjo tela te palan jorwa la ja chuni tsamamyo tani te palan jorwa de la ja matsam tara te pa de chagri zonde tani nga ge jundo pecha jangjo da te ka chek thom ma songde rumboche ka thi de jangjang shu de du tani rumboche ge songnang de ni lemde la yichi dendali ta pecha jana ngala nacha dobo nyeng nacha tani jinyi ka nacha cha ka nacha chama da tani rinpoche ge songjo de deva jo donghar je jo de sammo tong de la nyamni wi tani nacha tani wi de wi gu songdo de tani jundo ta de la sai sammo tong do win de nga so min khang na nyam bon dong do de Nepang is a Lama Trawa, Chomdumungo Trok, Sadatina, Nasa Jishu, the Ngari, that the Teninga Nasa, the Tani, Rumboche, Sunina, Yamnisi, Ta Yamnisi, or the Yamni Pechembosi, Shilama, the Rumboche, Sona te, Tino Samo te Tondudin. Teni tea tap dega, Tangoropa, Nga the Tron Sarti, Narang Tarong Lati, Teni Naranga Lopo de Ozardu, Lula Nasa, then though the Sina Donha Chunimando. Teni te rinpoche ka rin thukje ta tata kantarja sa trawa chungchung ni tarar trawa gepa chajo te rinpoche ka rin thukje rinpoche ka sanab teni rinpoche la tango tepa mugu zojo te tepa zojo rinpoche ka sungjo te rida ta kona kheli semata trinjo te teni tasani kona ka sungse te chama te nga ka drog trinjo te nila tina teni chu kana nga ka nyamli ze na tewi ta tongda windu duni ti ngarang ta wina tongda ri ti ni tenga ngima tawa nang tene karchan thong ti che rek ti jojo de rek tin thong ti jojo de mixar regyo mina pinto de ngala sem ga pinto de sem ga teng ga pinto lupo teng ga pinto de mina nasa de ta ma sona sem teng ga pinto de ga nasa de rang yin ka ta nasa de la dongha chu ni mi li ri jo rombo che thugye sanaw la tok da la de ni te hyo ten de hyo gu ma ti ni la
So, so when Rinpoche teaches me, so for example, when I was young, he gave me much advice, many different teachings, and the way I feel like devotion to him when I hear his teachings is that it might be first of all due to just the karma and past prayers that I made, that whatever Rinpoche says, I feel it's true. It really all makes sense. And that has been the case ever since I was young. And now it's like 30 or 40 years later, and my devotion to Rinpoche has not changed at all. I haven't studied extensively. I really only listened to Garchen Rinpoche's teachings. And he teaches on the importance of understanding karma, trusting karma. I myself have some serious health problems. I have a very weak heart and blood sugar and some blood issues. But Rinpoche taught me that happiness has a cause and suffering has a cause. And he said that, therefore, accept whatever comes your way. It is all practice. It is all your karma. So that's what I did. I just accepted it, just as he taught. I didn't really do much. I just do what he tells me, basically. For example, at one point, I was in the hospital with 6 other lamas and monks. And among those 6, I actually had the worst condition. But I accepted it, just like Rinpoche said, and I just kept practicing what Rinpoche told me to do. And I don't think I'm a great practitioner at all. I just try to follow what Rinpoche tells me to do. That's all. However, 5 of those friends of us 6, the other 5 have already passed away. I'm the only one still here. And my body is sick, but my mind feels no suffering at all. And I think that this is Rinpoche's kindness and his blessings, his compassionate blessings. Also, I think that the fact that I'm a monk since I was young until now, that I'm old, I'm still a monk, that's also because of Rinpoche's blessings. And when it comes to my devotion to Rinpoche, it's really simple. I do whatever he tells me to do, and I trust in it, and that is my practice. And so when people ask about like what have you seen, what have you experienced, I've not really experienced or seen anything special. Actually, my mind, my body, my physical illness hasn't really improved actually, but my mind has no suffering at all. The illness still remains, but I truly do not suffer from it at all. And the fact that I'm not suffering at all, that's really Rinpoche's blessing. So.
Ola tenita kunambala chujena da kija chia kunambala pa chushoma nambala chuban bujo semanda da sa chong Rinpoche tara do shi sa anyo tuni tara mari kordala kija yashu Rinpoche kala chuning garnyong mi ne sen garnyong mi drop matabli sa we drum the do in da devi ute di kunambala chuban bujo u shoro.
And so as Dharma practitioners, as disciples, we make offerings, and the offering I can make is that from the time I was young until now, I have done my best to do whatever Rinpoche told me to do, and I have never gone against what Rinpoche told me to do. I will always do my best to do what he tells me to do. That is my offering to Rinpoche.
Yes. Annie?
Thank you. Thank you, Rinpoche and Lama, to be here with us. And I just find out that you both came from Garchen Monastery. That's wonderful. Because we know Garchen Rinpoche, but we cannot imagine the Garchen Monastery, how it is. I went to Tibet many times, but I never be able to get to Garchen Monastery. But I met Garchen Rinpoche brother. He told me, he said, if I come to visit Garchen, he let me meditate in Garchen Rinpoche room. He said, so you come. But it's about 10 years. I didn't have that privilege, and I don't have enough merit to get there. But like Lama say, Garchen Rinpoche is the soul of the Garchen Monastery. And I believe Garchen Rinpoche also arranged everything when he left Garchen Monastery. Because, he leave the teaching, he makes sure that the practice still going on. He makes sure all of the old tradition Dharma being re-established. Like he say, he will have the praying wheel going on 24/7. That means all the time. All of that is the arrangement that Garchen Rinpoche did do to Garchen Monastery. And the thing is, I'm his disciple for more than 30 years. And I have the feeling about Garchen Rinpoche. He is taking care of everything to the detail. He the Bodhicitta. He don't love you from the form, but he loves you with the compassion and with the wisdom. With the compassion, he don't leave any of us. The people from Garchen Monastery, the Tibetan, and even all of the people here, regardless. We, ourselves, our family, all sentient beings. That's what we call Garchen Rinpoche, the Bodhisattva. So, now he got it on. You see, he arranged everything around here. And then, he makes sure everything going smooth. the teaching goes smooth. We keep practicing. And Garchen Rinpoche here had the enlightenment being to continue to keep the Dharma. So to me, that's how I think about Garchen Rinpoche. Our devotion is just believe in him. Let him arrange everything for us. And we follow his arrangement. To me, that's the love that he wants from us. And that's the love I devote to Garchen Rinpoche. So I think that, Garchen Rinpoche doing very well because you come here and you bring your wisdom, you bring your compassion, and maybe we have more enlightenment in Garchen Rinpoche and Garchen Monastery than right here. So we never know, So to me, that's the devotion. And if I do anything differently, please let me know. Rinpoche, this is, my question, how I can do better. But that's the way I believe in Garchen Rinpoche because he, to me, don't leave any tiny detail on any aspect. So thank you. Thank you,
Ina se tota ini tanda Khenchen tanda car company pebusari ti mula morang hakoma song ti pe yabuto tani ini ta Rinpoche chitang ngoshina yun Rinpoche ina yang car company khande tok chuna hakogmen tok mo pe la theng mambo donyong ina yang car company le manyong tini phache ta sonam chunga ensari tini tipa matapa ensari kyagen la malepa te ina yang ta thema chi Rinpoche ki pinkya charsong teni digi song teni kesi kerang car kompala lemna teni Garchen Rinpoche ki zimkana la teni kyang kom gyap chogaris song yene anti da lo chumun la re teni tarong lepto ma song car kompala teni ta kanda na yang ta lep ma thum na yang teni ta mon tune tena nganso ta Rinpoche tan chama dik shabari nganso la chama kote nang yores teni nganso phela car kompala dena yang yana sigyala ena tena ta teni chipari nganso ta Rinpoche nganso kompa kicheto car kompa kicheto yang chama kote nang yores samgatos bena khanso tupa nyamlen khare chi gores teni kalap khare go tos la sopati mo tuna chama kote nang yores teni pena car kompala yana ma trutsu nishu chapshi pon roko yore chama Rinpoche ki Tashi rabar kopti nang shapa nires nga so momba ki chido tatek nang ware teni tanda nga so nyamlan chena lo sumcho do chabare teni morangi samne Rinpoche yu rinpo ngo shingi dos teni Rinpoche nguna ta so chamala cheva sam ninja yore so phola yona yang tini sigya yona yang kain singa Rinpoche changcho sempari tini tanda kumlo chembori yena yang chama tatik nang yore is momba ngan so kare ko tama tanda tatik nang chabare ngan so lam tini ta ngan so mun tuna tini kachi shuto pa tini yamlen che to pa tini ina lama yang shuk to pa ti chama Rinpoche tatik nang yores tini tebe ngan so ta hlulo ti chogri ta Rinpoche chama ngan so la nang song tini ta kare nang na tini ting ngaran so ki chetori samgyo tini ta idala yiche se gogatos tini tela tene tini so ding dogores tortuna tini chichena yang nganso sam ninje kia tini yishi ta bo yakya toya chichena gargan Rinpoche ina ma shuna yang chichena gargan ki metarong yaga da bo yong yore ngana nyamlen da bo kona ta na morang ki trivala karesenam tini ti nangshin sena chiki rive yana yaki khandas dongores shemba ti memba tini kare chi gores ta yaki khanda dongores so
that Nima Kongasondia, Tsering Kongasonti, though in Samakia, Garchen Rinpoche Sancho Sambares. Sancho Samba in Bezo Karit Hiena, Risama Chip 17 Tanjesi, Buzolmi, Gargunzolmi, Sajazolmi, Jazolmi, Sama de Machi Buyunjek Zawate Karit Hiena, Sancho Semto de Yores. Though the Sancho Semzojete, then Garnbochik Zo Yore. Then us Garnbochik Zo with Jim Matsek Jinja, number Chuka. Labar the Tibachim Zo Chate Yores. Though the Sancho Sam Lobion with the Garchimores, Samaka. Sancho Sam Lobion. Then Sancho Sam Lobion with then young Tavarisona, Tonic Tawa Julce Gores. Then Tonic Tawa Julcena, Namgyalma, then Garden Bocheta, then Namgyalma, the Chagayores. Then Matse bring Jinjan Garden Bochematica, soldier Sanje Tanje, Samachi Bachayores. Data Vijaya, then Bepa, Tanya, data of sea or then Garden Boching, so that Chisha Jerry, Nason Yam soldier, Kong Ninja Tangela, then it's Archim of Zendon, then he Sarchim of Zegores. Mazojete, Mahina, Ninan the Samad, Matapa in Joan Dogres. Then the Tatanga so Coca, you, Sopan Soja and Chisha Janary, Nanuijun, Coca with the Shigores. Nazo Sama, Mayas Sama, Chibari, Nasoka Sarchimbo in the Shiomari, the Namshik. Then they meet at the dinner or that in Norson something, Jim Hakores. The wooden so Tatan Sarchimos Zeno. To Sultans and we Sanjo Sango, Tonic Tavagon, Tesovigores.
So, as Tashi Tsering also said, Garchen Rinpoche is truly a Bodhicitta. And so, why do we say that? Because Garchen Rinpoche holds no bias toward any being, whether it is someone from Gargan, Tibet, someone from the West, from China. He sees them all equally. He loves them all equally, like a mother loves her child. And that is because of Bodhicitta. So the root of that is Bodhicitta. And this is really what it comes down to. This is the most important thing. And especially in Mahayana practice, training in Bodhicitta is essential for us, for anyone practicing, especially. When Bodhicitta becomes genuine, then the view of emptiness, the seeing of emptiness arises in the mind. And Rinpoche, then we realize that we actually are never separate from Rinpoche. So when you see the empty mind, you realize finally that you are actually never separate from Rinpoche. And not just Rinpoche, in fact, you are one with all the Buddhas of the 10 directions. And until that is realized, we need to keep making an effort. So right now, we are still with Rinpoche. We have the fortune to receive his teachings and actually be in his presence. And that is something very precious. And that kind of preciousness is something we should appreciate right now, because everything is impermanent. Not just people, but everything is impermanent. Everything will change. Now we have an opportunity. We have the opportunity to practice together with Rinpoche, receive his teachings. And we all should think about that in this way. We all are the same. We should all remember that. We now have this precious chance. And maybe now we don't see it clearly. Maybe now we do take it for granted. But one day, when it is gone, we will regret having wasted this precious moment. Then we will see the fault in that. So now is the time to see what is truly important, what is truly precious. we have to be very disciplined with our time and choose to use it to practice. The most important thing that we can do to practice now is to cultivate bodhicitta and to meditate in a state of emptiness. So,
Okay.
Thank you, Rinpoche. I think we just all have an amazing lesson tonight of Guru Yoga. Thank you. I do have a question with our little friend here. She wants to ask the question with me together. She wants to ask in Chinese. Okay.
仁波切晚安，慈悲心和菩提心有什么关系？有什么不一样？
Good evening, Rinpoche. Our little friend here, she wants to know what's the difference between compassion, kindness, and bodhicitta.
And so that thing and so when Lama and Choki Galop Yapo Pasang Garden Triptrul Rinpoche that Topo Chung Chik Tinity and Driva Chitok Tini Morangi Drivala Tini Ninje Dang Samba Ni Changjo Kisem and so Kiba Karere.
Det tror jag inte på det där. Ninja så det sanjo som个觉sanjo som så det ninja kan driva chade ore. Tambo thomar ninja che gola tambo samba sambo te gondo. Tini ninja te gondo tini jima sanjo sen so che ore. Ninja zoje ta sanjo sen in rayo mare. Ninja zoje te senjin tanji dewa ta dina donga trana sambe tendek ta wachire. Sanjo sen zoje te la dun i ta sor ni ding zo shere donda ni chango yore. Zai te ma namka ta nyambe senjin tanji pama yin ba shi go yore. Dongjin ta bo pama yin ba shi den ninja che me ba je go yore. Ni ba te 탐직 산직 top 치다 되니 나게 주드긴 인틴다 주지 셰긴 인틴자 다 거와스난다 라이난다 딘렉 치드 인전 동친이 거래 디 동친이의 마찬나 산적 산제요말 자니 만난 같은 냐베 senjin 단지 파마다네 그래서 단지는 닌제 쳔 빠지제다 니네 산제 톱자 그 삼 니드 참고요 대창은 되니 산적 산제요말 마요샤 스크게 ninja dan sanjo sen ni jiba zan do de ma le se sanjo sen zo de senji ban ni yin dong sai yang da zo sanjo do zo ne shi xin do jin na song le dong qi ni da ma chang go le se
da. That's a great question, really, and a very meaningful question. And so compassion is the cause of bodhicitta. So bodhicitta results from compassion. They're not the same. So first, you need to have a good intention. That's the first thing. You need to have a good intention. And then from that arises compassion. And then from compassion arises bodhicitta. So compassion and bodhicitta are not the same. And so, first of all, compassion, like loving kindness and compassion, is the wish for all beings to be happy and free from suffering. And that's not the same as bodhicitta, because bodhicitta actually has two aspects. One is to see all sentient beings limitless as space as your parents. So you generate compassion from them and you cultivate boundless compassion for all sentient beings. And the second aspect is that you want all these beings to attain enlightenment. So to bring them all to enlightenment, you practice the Dharma. So you think, I will practice the Dharma, receive teachings, circumambulate, and so on, so I can become a Buddha to establish them all in Buddhahood for their sake. So if these 2 points are not complete, then bodhicitta will not arise. So first, compassion, there's a compassion, and that is like seeing all beings as your parents, that first aspect of bodhicitta. But that's not all to it. It's not just that first aspect. You need the second aspect too, and that is the wish to attain enlightenment for the sake of all beings. And only if you have these 2 aspects, real bodhicitta can arise. So this is actually also mentioned in the Abhisamayalankara, the ornament of realization, where it says that the definition of bodhicitta is that it is born, bodhicitta is born from an altruistic intention directed toward others, and the wisdom seeking enlightenment for the sake of others. So. So, in brief, if you have compassion, you not necessarily have bodhicitta, but if you have bodhicitta, you necessarily have compassion.
Okay. Okay.
Was that a question?
Yeah, thank you, Rinpoche.
No.
What is the difference between the concept of a self and a mind stream that keeps being reincarnated but it has no inherent existence?
Tini kiba karayoris, tini Asia tim da semgi ti giva lengthen gi semdi tiang ranging madupa yimba tim rang ti giva lengthen nga giva yang yang len to go yore ti gi namshi ti giva ne giva dong chen gi namshi ti tang nga se ta se ti kiba karayoris kiba yorves
Zeta pena Jialing the same Junri Mato Momena Keja Gon Mataban Royore, that is Sam Junri. Sam Jun Tella, Nasok Darit in Nak Sam Tel Jun Tella, Darit, Danzin Chehayores. Inaya, Sam Jun Tetane, Dateni, Tintin Bang Daris, Conchimaris. Inaya Pena Nasoka Lobon Detla Darit Chehayore. Dan Mumat the Lobot Maris. Nasok tel dancing jayore, but not tinting dryores. Terry, Tunda.
Related, sorry, lasso, TJ. So the consciousness that takes rebirth is the stream of the mind, the continuum of mind, and that moves moment to moment, this and to future lives, and because of this, it is impermanent. And so we think, however, we mistake this stream of consciousness as the me, that solid me, that's the self. And that is what that we think that this is what we call self-grasping. We are holding on to this, we think that this stream of consciousness is me. But the stream of consciousness is not a single thing, a single entity. It is also just a collection of dependent arisings, a collection of moments that are interconnected from moment to moment, so dependent arisings of moments. And it's just with our body. We also tend to think, I'm the body, we identify with the body, but that's not true. The body, we are connected to the body due to the same interdependence. There is an interdependence, but it's not actually what that me, a solid me. Also?
So that's what the chunks in your to Deba can not Tata Mount not such a Samat Jay. Sam Zojate, June Zojate, Ketching Yuan Toyore. Garci tended that in Sok Mampo and Toyo Mari. Don't that Zojate, Sam June Zojate, Tinjiri, Mo the Dank Mari. That Zojate Mumari on that, Zatu on the Madrop Share. Nasok don't Zindang Tenzin your mate. Munek Rebechan Jena, that's what dry your mice. Those are tinting being damages. Garci Sam June tender getting in that in Perna Karma Jegla, the Garcha structure, good structure. Tinan ye dating is organization, Marek. Then Gomavina Semyon Zoja, the Garcham in Gahayurum, the Mature. In that Zojete, Deba cat, Natan, Tatek Natan, Mamba Nat, so some in the Heres.
So that's self. So we call it a self, but what really is that's what we call a self. So we think that the past, the present, and the future self is one and the same thing. That's self. It was the same self in the past as it is now, as it will be in the future, as one thing. But in reality, there's no one self. It's a stream of moments, a stream of consciousness, and it's changing moment by moment. This continuum, this stream of moments is changing moment by moment, but we don't see that. What we see is this kind of product of many moments, and we think that this is the self. And actually, it is just a dependent arising, an interconnection of moments of consciousness. And therefore, we say it does not truly inherently exist, but we just think that it exists. We perceive it that way, but that's not how it really is. So, for example, 1 minute is made of 60 seconds. And so we can break down apart a minute. And so how can there be a single? There cannot even be a single minute, because a single minute is 60 seconds. There's no single in there at all. So it is constantly evolving, changing. And it is just that we think that this is this steady thing. If you really analyze it, then we will see that it's not actually real. It's just a stream of consciousness that is broken into many different moments and not one solid continuity. So the future self, the past self, the present self, there is no such a self that actually exists. It's just kind of an interplay of moment to moment, the interdependence of many moments. So.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rinpoche Lam. Thank you, Lama La. This has been really beautiful. Garchen Rinpoche has done great blessings for my family in terms of, I'll give you an example. My ex-husband, who's 20 years my senior, he's in his 90s, and he was in the hospice. So they said he was going to pass on shortly. And it was during COVID, and I was doing a retreat online, so with the Garchen Institute. And so I asked, I sent an offering, and I asked that prayers be done for my ex-husband. And he had this miraculous turnaround, when he was in the hospital. And I was in Ontario. We live in Canada, and he was down in New Brunswick. And, I was thinking about it in terms of, it was like a deep infection throughout his spine. And, as you were talking about the moment to moment, I was thinking about it in terms of the quantum, going into the quantum field, or the relative to the absolute in terms of the healing. So is it just the healing comes from pure bodhicitta in the absolute? Or how would you explain it at a sort of a deeper level? I don't know.
Kalap nang bala tutu chepe mas no kashi kingun la Garchen Rinpoche ngaki chimtsang la senap chin nang song, mixa chin nang song. Ngama di dorok chitok di lo nisho chil lo nisho cheva lo chembore. Teti korang lo gupcho nang la yore. Teni natsa tupo naga dok menkan nang la de yore. Teni korang so ta gyopo shin rogore yun bo de mares. Di kapla yang di Hove yore va tene ari loze natsa yore. Loze natsa kapla yore. Teni kong yun bo de mares konsulap song menkan ne. Dini di kapla dini nga tsam de yin dini nga Garchen Triptrul la dini Rinpoche la shindep chik ta yin dini di duro di giche de munlam na ronangs dini di giche la dini pe tsumchur nang shin chik chung song dini korang pet gyur song dini pe yarkian do song dini de tang nguma la lau pare pe ya por cha song dini una halia chik cha song konso tsamba de maries lap song dini di tanda chiri ki dini kichik rire la gyur rogo yores dini chik ta tsere pa konso de domba ni shekpe kapla disam la gore dulchen chame ra gore sinti songge yore turn tambe nguna chama dulchen chame chiris songge yore tirang rabo insari spot dulchen sama gyorsong deni dulchen sopo ke dulchen sama tanda tempo tinda mares gyor chokcho ra gore deni korang gyorsong deni ko natsa da song deni ko natsa tupo tinda daya di Tashi kandas kya kore ta dal thupe gyumchen pena di changchup sen la tene gyumchup changchup sen la tene teni thön tam na jok song tela tene natsa ta songes yana kandas dabo kowa lengoris kong korangi logyudi
ta chitang toni xie je de dan ne den ka Pasang Tsering xie je de so nyam de jiba jiba de lo yong yo re toni zo je de ne pe me se ba ke ya po yo re do de jima toni yin de nang bu che ka toni ri zo je de jun chi mi le ko ran yin de na xie yo ma ngu bu ne so la ngu bu ne so ngo de yo re do de toni zo je de ne ya po yo re ta de ha cho ke de zha de ta di kan de si na di ta limited condition mean the thing you are condition tong ge se ta chetang le ke wa se na ja cha ja kan de de wa de yo cha yo re le me ge wa se na de dung ha de yo pa de cha yo re ina chetang ke limited ke na ya zo je de san je ke sam je me cha ba ri se re to in de na ke de ta ke de vel ri zo ne ne she ke ma san je ke ka ri zo song yo ze hen de ni dra chong ba tham je ke pe mi sin mu she yo re 산초 스마 사초라 네베 탐지가 무시 빼면서 요래단 이나야 너와 시행 값서 탐진 진발 산살을 해서 산살로서 해요래 탐진 진발 산살로 조제 가리지힌 너로 나는 소치슈 딘지 렘제크 남야 시에래 렘제크 남야 시엔드 대시에구나 탐진 진마 다 산제 코나 키에 털리마도 무슨 쨌단게 산초 스마 자정바 저 탐지 시에 터요말 나서 제땅 소스지고 시에 터 델라체 시에 막바래 더부터 제땅 더솔 딘된 다 주랑게 대바타네 되니 대서 개와타네 저 속도 딘된 송여절이 딘다 이나야 간제 송여를 시에구나 되니 렘 시에 터가 말했어 되네
So first of all, so generally speaking, so it's in terms of emptiness, emptiness, and what modern science explains, like you mentioned, quantum physics and so on. They're actually really quite similar, and so it's very, very good to see it that way and to see it from the emptiness perspective. And when Buddhism especially speaks about emptiness, explains emptiness, it is not just a fabricated teaching, but it describes the true nature of how things really are. So regarding your question of how can we explain that this change happens to him? So generally speaking, it truly is the result of karma. It is surely the result of virtuous karma. So if the karma is virtuous, then it will produce happiness. That's 100% certain. The cause is, if the cause is non-virtuous, it will surely result in suffering. And the Buddha taught karma really extensively. And the Buddha, with his clairvoyant, all-knowing mind, saw karma, the fine workings of karma completely and without any error. And it's only the Buddha who can see it completely. And so for this reason, I can really point to exact outcomes, like this is exactly what caused that. This is the result of exactly that. So this is something only the Buddha himself would know. Even actually an arhat and a bodhisattva on the 10th bhumi would not be able to answer, to explain that really completely. Even an arhat and a bodhisattva on the 10th bhumi, they do have high levels of clairvoyance, but still they are unable to see the fine workings of karma entirely. In the Vinaya teachings, therefore, they begin with a prostration to the all-knowing one, so a prostration to the Buddha. And the reason for beginning all Vinaya teachings with an homage to the Buddha is because the Vinaya mainly teaches about karma, and only a fully awakened Buddha knows all its subtle workings, details completely. Even a high-level bodhisattva and arhat don't know everything, can't see everything. So for us as ordinary beings, it's even harder to fully see the workings of karma. But one thing is sure, the fact that he was healed, that he was getting better, is surely due to your devotion to and your great merit. And that definitely contributed to that. But the exact workings of karma is still beyond something that we can explain. So.
Okay. One last question.
Thank you. So, Rinpoche, you were talking. You answered the question earlier about self and mind stream, and I have a additional question regarding that. I mean, I don't know whether it's related or not, but I was just trying to figure out what self, in regards to the self and the mind stream. I was just trying to understand what self-arising awareness means. In the Samantabhata prayer, it says, may all beings who wander in the three realms of samsara realize this self-arising awareness. So what is that? How is it different from self? Or is it realizing self? Or what is this? What does that mean, self-arising awareness?
Teni tana ngela lenchin nang song teni ti kola pate telan drava yosari korangi drava teni kuntu sang bemen lam ginang la ti song yore teni the rangrik se di the kamsum korve 17 tamche rangrik the rangchung rikpa din to doro that dowa shows na song yore ba teni ti rangchung rikpa din rangchung gi rikpa de dang rang se de yore ba rang da se da gi rang dang rang ri gi rang di keba yore ves rang ri gi rang di da gi ngo di to gi to es yana kare es to keba to es
te cheba yore rang re zo te nga rang zo che nga zo che da zo che ten chi ba re tini rikpa rang song zo te tini sem che ne lo tel zo yore sem che ne lo te rikpa te rang song se ju ma nyong le jor ma nyong le ko ngubu ne char che ta ba yin ba te la rang song zo xie yore ni so na char zo xie do ten ngubu ne lo te la rang song zo xie yore yen ne ju ma nyong yen ne kong jor tong ma nyong ko tambo ni che ina 대지 제발 채모 요레스 근데 잠바 난게 장송 리바시 저저 대리 대행님 보세나
is a true natural state, the true nature, your true nature. So there's a big difference between that and the construct of a self. And so this self-arising awareness, that's the one that's mentioned in the Samantabhadra prayer. And we give it different names. We can also call it Buddha nature, or we call it the nature of the mind, or we call it the mind of the Buddha, the empty mind, emptiness. So all of the concepts have the same meaning.
Yeah.
Hola, so.
Thank you so much, Sherab, Pasang Rinpoche and Tashi Tsering Lama, for answering all of our questions and helping us to develop more bodhicitta and wisdom. We're really grateful for everybody's questions. And thank you to Ina for your excellent translation. And we will keep practicing through the night. Nobody's sleeping, I'm sure. And we'll see you all here in the morning. And please also keep in your mind other questions you have. We're fortunate to have all of these question and answer opportunities throughout the event. And also for Garchen Rinpoche's question and answer session on the 24th and 25th, you will need to write down your questions because we need to give them ahead of time so they can be translated. Okay, everyone. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you so much. Thank you.